Hey, what's up, guys? This is Brian at Whisper Status 74. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the channel. Today's video will be a tech therapy video. We will be covering gaming and gaming capable displays. And the most capable gaming display in the entire industry is without a doubt the LG C1, LG G1, LG CX. The lineup of OLEDs from LG are the most capable gaming panels out there for both PC and all of the new consoles. They have 4K 120, variable refresh rate, G-Sync, FreeSync, auto low latency mode, 4K Dolby Vision, 4K 120 Dolby Vision. The real question is, do you need all that stuff?
I've seen things people wouldn't believe.
All right, guys, welcome to the video. Excuse my voice. I am a bit under the weather, but this is a video I've wanted to make for some time. I've covered a lot of this in other videos. This is a tech therapy video. These are very long, 30-minute videos. They are long form. They are designed to be therapy in a sense. A friend speaking to a friend, not slick, quick cuts, 10-minute videos. They're meant to be a discussion. I'll be covering this in live streams coming up. I'll be talking in depth on this. The reason why I want to discuss this with you guys is the new consoles, the displays that you choose. The LG C1 is the panel you see behind me. It is 83 inches. It is an amazing gaming display. It is amazing overall display, excellent picture quality, and it competes with any other OLED out there. It's especially a good value being that it's a C1. The G1 is also excellent. So is the CX, so is the C9, so is the C8. We will talk about the C8 and C9 in a bit in regards to 4K 120 with Dolby Vision. The reason why I want to have this conversation is many of you are looking for TVs right now. If you've already bought your panel and you're happy with it, especially if you have a C1 or a G1 and you're enjoying it, this video is really not for you. For those of you that are on the fence, a lot of you are basing your decisions primarily on usage, which is very wise. What's your use case? Gaming versus movies, where's the panel in your home, who's using it, all these things are extremely important. Gaming has become a very large part of that. For me, for instance, in this downstairs home theater, I game here 80% of the time. The LG C1 is not only an excellent value, it checks all the boxes, and it checks all them literally. I'll be showing you the Xbox game dashboard settings. For many of you, this settings menu is very important to see all of these checked off. Now, my C1, even as I uncheck them, they won't look the way yours will look with a red check or having other things grayed out. For many of you, that checking the box is so important. It's more important than anything else. And it's not something I'm telling you that you don't already think yourself. When it comes to technology, having what others have or don't have. If you have a great 7.2 surround sound, you're always going to be chasing Atmos and chasing variable refresh rate and FreeSync and G-Sync and all the different features. We're going to get into that in a second. The problem is, due to influencers such as myself, YouTube, written reviews, forums, many of you are doing all your research and you're coming out with two sides. You're coming out with, if I want gaming, I need to go Samsung and LG, but if I want picture quality, I have to go Sony, and if I like movies, I have to go Sony. I've said something similar, though I've always thought that Sony had an amazing gaming picture quality mode for many years. Last year's 950H was excellent. It wasn't 4K, HDMI 2.1. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But it gets to be where things become very black and white, where everyone starts to say, you can only get this if you game. And I want to touch really quick, as I mentioned this in a previous video, what is a hardcore gamer? What is a competitive gamer? Are you somebody who's competitive? And you guys were joking about me saying Mountain Dew. What I meant by that, are you some sponsored shooter pro gamer? If you are, you're not gaming on a TV anyway. You should be on some CRT wired controller in, no latency at all, or using a very quick monitor that is, 27 inches, so 1440p, no latency at all. We're talking about TVs here. I am a hardcore gamer. I don't have a ton of time to game. I do game competitively, meaning that I do play lots of multiplayer games. I consider myself very good at these games. I do take it serious, so I'm not a casual gamer. The reason why I wanted the C1 mainly was due to what we're going to talk about today. Variable refresh rate. VRR, which is variable refresh rate. G-Sync, FreeSync, in case you have a PC, you want FreeSync or G-Sync, NVIDIA or AMD. Auto low latency mode, which is basically your TV switching into game mode. It's really nothing more than that as far as I'm concerned. 4K 120, Dolby Vision gaming at 120. The challenge I'm having, even as somebody who has all these boxes checked, I realize for myself that is not a bragging rights thing. That is something personal that when I'm sitting there, I can say, oh, I'm all set. I have all those checked. It feels good to have those checked. But you shouldn't base your whole decision on that. The reason I say that, and I've mentioned this even before these new consoles came out, and it still is a terrible shame that they are not 100% available for you guys, because if they were available, you guys could understand a lot of what I'm talking about. Now, I game on two specific panels every day. I game on the LG C1 that is upstairs or downstairs here. I also have a Sony A80J. The A80J is primarily for films, but right now it does have a PS5 connected to it. The Series X has also been upstairs. Now I will tell you that I enjoy gaming on that panel a lot. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I do think that the A80J and the A90J have slightly better picture quality than LG's lineup this year. It's just how I feel. I have them both. I compare them a lot. I do favor Sony's processing this year. I have no problems with ABL. I'll say that. I have no issues gaming on the A80J. It does not dim on me. I enjoy it with both systems. Even without variable refresh rate, I think what I'm trying to say is all these little, labels that we're putting in, VRR, I have to have this, I have to have that. You'll be surprised how often you're not utilizing it, is what I'm trying to say. So what made me want to do this video is two things. It is the C9 group that isn't going to have 4K 120 Dolby Vision. And that was brought up in Vincent's video for HDTV tests. Check out Vincent's video. He does tremendous work where he discussed that there may not be the possibility for the C9. And I know a lot of you that have C9s are, upset at that. But I want to go back to last year when everybody was destroying the C1 for not having 48 gigabits per second. And then the C9 was the choice because it had 48. So 48 versus 40, everybody and their mother bought C9s. That's kind of what I'm talking about here as we bring the whole conversation back. It's not misinformation. It was a fact. One had more than the other. The challenge is the other is not useful. It's not being used for anything. The C9 can't do Dolby Vision 120. Some people chose that panel based on that information. That information was not false. That information was accurate. But the problem is the promise of what that would provide down the road is where it's a challenge. The promise that we have of Dolby Vision native games. Will there be some? Sure, there will be a couple. Will 4K 120 Dolby Vision happen often? No, it won't. And what I want to tell you and what I'm talking about is watching a lot of my favorite gaming YouTube channels, whether it's, Jack Frags and ACG and a lot of these guys, Skill Up, they do their videos. Listen to the very beginning of their videos as they discuss playing on all platforms. They talk about the consoles, they talk about their PCs. And a lot of times you'll hear them mention their PCs. Oh, I have a 3090 and I get 120 at 1440p. And you're like, oh, wait a second. 3090, a leading, most powerful graphics card now, until there is something more powerful or whatever's coming down the pipeline. The PC shortage is much worse than the console shortage, by the way, for both CPU and GPU. The challenge I have is that with those graphics cards, they're not able to reach 4K 60, 4K 120 fully out. Now, maybe they can do 4K 60, but they're cutting out ray tracing, which we'll get to in a second. But 120, I'm not hearing a lot of them saying they're getting 120. It's a lot of 1440p. It's a lot of higher, lower resolution, higher refresh rate. What that means for us in the console space, I am also a PC gamer. In the console space is very few, if any, of our games are native. I mean, truly native 4K. And I mentioned this before the consoles even released, that 4K 60 would be the target. Now, there are some games that I enjoy at 4K 120. Black Ops Cold War, multiplayer is fun at 4K 120. Halo Master Chief Collection is awesome at 4K 120. But the question you have to ask yourself is, Black Ops isn't the most graphically challenged game in multiplayer. The upcoming Halo Infinite will have a 4K 120 mode. The graphics are knocked down quite a bit for that mode. I did a video on that. What I'm trying to say is, do you really need it? And that's the challenge with everything that we're going to discuss in this video and have already discussed for 10 minutes, is that wanting to check that box, you guys are choosing features that may never come to fruition. Dolby Vision has been enabled on the C1 since it was launched. And I can tell you myself, it's fine. It's fine. Even HGIG and all the different features we throw around, and I throw them around. It's why I have the C1. I want HGIG when it's useful. I don't just engage it to engage it. I engage it in games that utilize it. I do prefer dynamic tone mapping on at times. That's not popular among content creators. I really don't care. It's what I enjoy, and it may be what you guys enjoy. But what I'm worried for with you guys making these decisions, you've seen this with the Sony 900H from last year, and the 900H is absolutely fine. Guys, buying that panel predicated that it would have VRR and have all these features. Now, it's unforgivable that Sony has not provided that. But I promise you, Sony really thinks that you're going to be pairing that with a PS5 and you're going to be absolutely fine. And the fact of the matter is, Sony TVs play very nice with PS5s. They also play very nice with Xboxes. As long as you're not engaging VRR and forcing these extra features it's not capable of, typically the image quality looks as good, if not better in some cases, than the LG lineup, especially in the OLED lineup. But many of you aren't looking at the X95 or the A80J, which is a shame because it's absolutely stunning. I love my A80J. But all this talk of ABL, you cannot game on it. Now, I have a few people in the community that have struggled with ABL with the A80J. I'm not sure if that's just your specific panel. I game on it. I have no problems. You also may be very sensitive to it. But now that panel has been kind of flagged as can't game on that. You have to go with this one because of these gaming-centric features. Sony is not providing those. I am not 100% positive when that will take place and if the implementation will be any good. What I'm speaking on with Sony is how good their picture quality is right now. 4K Dolby Vision is still an issue with them. I understand that. Hopefully they'll sort that out. But as far as gaming, 4K 60, HDR, enjoying gaming on those panels, which you can also do competitively, they look absolutely amazing. They are absolutely stunning. Switching over to Samsung quickly. Samsung is the other gamer-centric panel manufacturer. Samsung has always been at the forefront of gaming. They thought about this as long as LG, if not maybe longer. They've always been gamer-centric, even back in the LCD days and 1080p. They've always been about gamers. The thing they lack is Dolby Vision. Now, I think Dolby Vision is important. I enjoy it in films. I like it a lot. But should you base your decision on Dolby Vision alone? That's something for you guys to decide. But having it, if it was gone, would I be devastated? I don't think so, especially in gaming. Maybe in movies, HDR10 is fine in regards to Samsung. We're going to focus on gaming for today. all the talk of what's coming, right? So going back to Samsung quickly, excellent panels. They have great technology. They look fantastic. Choose that brand if you like their picture quality and how they show their picture quality and how they are gaming wise. You want to choose more HDMI 2.1. That is a tangible thing. You can buy a splitter and all that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I want to talk about is promised features. Now, we're going to go into ray tracing quickly. All this talk about ray tracing, you need ray tracing, ray tracing. Okay, very few games actually have good ray tracing implementation. Even on Black Ops Cold War, I'm playing the the campaign, I have ray tracing, cripples the frame rate, I just disabled it. To me, ray tracing on Cold War multiplayer does not look very good, and I don't think it's worth the costs. And a lot of times with something like ray tracing, when you are gaming, are you really looking at the puddles? Now, many of you, including myself, love the graphical details, but is it worth the costs? That's easily transferable to what we're speaking about here. Are these little details worth the cost of what you're choosing, what panel you're choosing? Are you not choosing a TCL or a Hisense because they don't have these exact gaming features, even though you may be able to get a bigger one or a higher quality picture, but you're choosing gaming features that aren't really showing up. Now, again, nothing wrong with the C1. I love my C1. I love my CX. C9 was amazing. The C8 was my favorite out of them all, actually. You're totally fine. 4K 120, you have 4K 60 with Dolby Vision. Are you mad? I understand why you're mad. The fact of the matter is, buying an older panel, it is not going to be updated. If you go a year later or you buy a TV from last year, you got to think you only have about a year or maybe two left of it being updated. Dolby Vision is fine. I use it all the time. Are there any real native Dolby Vision games that I'm able to tell you about? Not really. What I mean by that is being upset right now for features that aren't even here yet is an absolute waste of your time and your energy. And a lot of it about us being future-proof. Now, this TV here, the C1, is as future-proof as you can get. But these consoles, which you guys don't even have yet, there's already talk of the next Xbox mid-range PS5 Pro, which would be unforgivable if they release that stuff even in the next year before you guys can even get your hands on them. But for the most part, 4K 60 on existing panels, even ones that aren't HDMI 2.1, your panels from last year that are 4K 60, you'll enjoy your games. You'll have a great time playing them. You can play them competitively. I played on a 900E forever competitively and still kicked everybody's butt and enjoyed myself immensely, even though it didn't have the lowest input lag and didn't have variable refresh rate and G-Sync and FreeSync. Do I think that VRR is important? I do. I do like the smooth feeling of it. However, when I game upstairs on the 880 without VRR, it feels equally smooth, even at 4K 120, simply because those games have a built-in VSync. You're not able to change VSync manually. The game is not going to let you tear. Now, other than a few DLC games here and there that people have had issues with, for the most part, you're not going to have a problem with screen tearing. Also, a lot of games that are being released, namely Battlefield 2042, which I cannot wait for. Forza's dropping in a few days. You have Call of Duty Vanguard. It's been a very busy month for gaming. Isn't going to be 4K 120. And 20 minutes into the video, what we always hear with consoles, always, because we have that overlap, is you're not even touching the ability of the PS5 or the Series X. Actually, you are. You're being held back by the last generation, you are. But if you listen to DICE, their CPU on the Series X is already maxed. Now, granted, that's 4K 60 with 120 players. What I want to know is it native 4K? Is it really native 4K? Because this dynamic resolution, even checkerboard rendering from a few years ago with the PS4, that's a problem. Because, and I will tell you, for those of you that see a lot of banding and a lot of your screen uniformity issues, a lot of that is also due to the content. It's based on all these rendering techniques that do bring out the worst in your screens. Real native 4K content, especially on PC, which is native, tends to be or brings out the best in your panel. But when I was listening to the coverage from Jack Frags and the other guys from Battlefield, well, 4K 120 can't happen. CPU's already maxed. Well, okay, well then can't we do it on Team Deathmatch where it's not 120? Chances are no. A lot of the games that we're talking about aren't maxed. Far Cry 6 looks fine, looks okay. It doesn't look amazing. Now, has it had its Series X PS5 update? Who knows? But it's not something that is so mind-blowing. Yes, they look good. Who I'm speaking to is the group that's home that wants to check all those boxes. You want 4K 120, though very few games will utilize it. You want VRR, and yes, it's great to have those things. And is it better to have them than not? That's really up to you. But losing sleep over it and making your choices specifically on that is what's bothering me for you guys. Even us as content creators, yes, we love to say this is the best, that is the best, you should get this, you should get that. I will tell you, I am a YouTuber, but I am a consumer. I don't care what you buy. I just want you happy with your purchase because I know I need those boxes checked, but I know the reason why. And I know that at times I say to myself, well, great, I have ray tracing. How many games got ray tracing? 3. Oh, 3. Awesome. Good thing I bought this new GPU. Good thing I upgraded my CPU. Good thing I got this. Good. So a lot of times being future-proof, that technology lays dormant. It's not even used. And when you hear us talk about that, I hear that with HGIG and Dolby Vision gaming. Wow, this looks so much better in Dolby Vision. And I'm seeing there saying, I don't really see it. And I switch them back and forth. I don't really see it. And I think the PS5, the way the PS5 works with the Sony, they're kind of like, hey, it looks good. What do you think? I don't know, it looks great. How does it play? Amazing. Those Spider-Man games look phenomenal. Are they native 4K? I don't know. They look fantastic. But with the Xbox and thinking you can't take the Xbox and go on a PS or on a Sony product or a TCL or any of these, yes, they don't always play nice with VRR engaged as they're forcing it. Can their chip handle it? The fact is, take all that stuff away and they still look amazing. And that's what you need to know. You don't always have to upgrade to this or that. You don't always have to make that move. The point is, many of you are making these moves and you don't know why. You're hearing Dolby Vision. You're hearing, and I go back to Samsung and Dolby Vision, or even HDR, the big jumps in technology that we've seen. I remember having the first HDR panels. Didn't do HDR very well, but I had to have HDR. Now, for many of us, waiting for this technology to mature is not really something that we all can do. We want the best. We want it now. But many of you that are buying right now aren't buying the cutting edge. The technology has matured. You're ready to make a more thoughtful decision. 4K has been out forever. We're arguably at the end of its life cycle, which is a whole nother video, as 8K to me is a little bit like ray tracing. You see larger 4K panels coming out now, 100-inch, 98-inch. Not really sure what the point of 8K is then if we're doing that or if OLEDs from Samsung are going to be 4K. But anyway, a lot of you made decisions based on Dolby Vision a few years ago, before there was even a lot of Dolby Vision content. Now, as far as Dolby Vision and Samsung TVs for movies, that's another discussion. But based on that for gaming, many of you are making that decision not on Dolby Vision films, but Dolby Vision gaming. And again, if you guys in the comments want to tell me what games are coming out with Dolby Vision, if it's 50 games or 20 games or 30 games, cool. If it's 1 or 2, then I don't know if I'd base my entire purchase on 1 or 2 games that I may not even play. That might not even be the genre that I like. For me, having something like Battlefield not be 120, is it a big deal? For me, actually, it's not a huge big deal. I think 60 is excellent. I'd rather have excellent picture quality at 60 than have 120 and have less picture quality. But a troubling as I go back to that, a troubling trend with these consoles is having to choose between a fidelity mode and a performance mode. To me, the fidelity mode should be 4K 60. Flat. I don't want to be playing 30 on these consoles, because if you can't manage 4K 30 with some bells and whistles, then they're underpowered or they're not being optimized. The PC crew is in a whole nother camp where I don't think the PS5 ports are going to be very good for PC. I think consoles are going to be controlling this cycle. Having 3090 struggle with 4K 60 or can't even do 4K 120 as an amazing graphics card. AMD cards are awesome. The optimization for PC games has been disgraceful. It has not been good. But seeing how the consoles are and seeing that 4K 60 native, 100% native, not dynamic resolutions, not any tricks, native 4K has seemed to be difficult. And for me to keep hearing, hey, we haven't even utilized these consoles yet, I disagree. I don't think they're maxed. I think the CPU on Battlefield may be maxed at 120 players. That's a lot. But I'd love to see them downscale their team deathmatch or their domination matches to 4K 120. They could do that easily. But I think to say that these consoles have, let's just say this, at the end of every console's lifespan, they put out their best work. We'd agree with that, I think, a lot of us, with Last of Us, God of War from the PS4, a lot of the Gears of War games, Forza, all looked great at the end of cycles. That is getting better with the technology. That's not really tapping into this unfound power. That's them getting better with the systems, learning them better, doing better tricks with them. So I'm not saying they're completely maxed or doom and gloom for that, but you guys needing variable refresh rate, needing even auto low latency mode. It's not that hard to put the TV in game mode if you really want it to be in game mode. Some of you guys don't even game in game mode. But these features that the marketing is telling you you need, ray tracing. I remember I have a 1080 Ti still. And I was so close to buying a 2080 Ti during all this crazy crypto stuff a couple of years ago. The car was like $2,000. And then all the talk was ray tracing. But I was trading 4K 60 for 1080p 60 with ray tracing. I thought to myself, that's not really a great trade-off. And that's what I want you guys to make a thoughtful decision on. Is it a good trade-off for you? Again, LG, excellent brand, love their display, great processing. I am completely happy with it. But to think you can't game on an A80J, an X90J, an X95, an A90J, that is something that I don't agree with. Now, many of you will say, well, why didn't you buy an 83-inch A90J Master Series? I think it's a better panel. It's a better looking panel. However, it's much more expensive and doesn't have a lot of those gaming features. But hear me, it's not cheaper without those gaming features. It's much more expensive and without them. And for myself, I do want to have that fantasy or at least illusion of future-proof. But that's just me. My responsibility in what I do here is I'm not saying that has to be you. I'm not, and I'm in this industry, meaning I buy different TVs every few years. But for you guys, 900H guys, enjoy 4K. Enjoy your panels. Stop worrying about variable refresh rate. You're barely going to use it or notice it, at least for now. And if you're going to use it, if you're going to worry about it in 2 years when it shows up, then you can come back here in 2 years and say, Bri, damn. But for the meantime, really enjoy the ones that you have. And also make your choices based not solely on these marketing terms. Yes, it's great having all these things. I love seeing VSync and FreeSync, and I love checking them all off. It feels good to have them checked. And believe me, I do know when I was testing the 950H last year, it bothered me that certain parts of that Xbox thing were grayed out. But for the most part, when Dolby Vision was announced on the C1, I right away went into the Insider program, spent like an hour and a half doing these little exercises to get it. I got it. I checked it off, and I was thinking, yeah, it's okay. But here I am telling you, somebody who has this technology, who uses it every single day as a consumer, it's not a big deal. it's not a huge big deal. It's nice to have. It's nice to have in that back pocket, but I know it's not that big a deal. The challenge is you at home. It's a huge deal. And for you guys with C9s, you didn't make a mistake. The C9 is excellent. And for some of us, it's arguably better than the C1 and the CX. It's maybe more vibrant. The processing isn't as good. It's not. But it might be as good. The C8, I thought, was punchy and more vibrant than all of them. But abandoning TVs you already have, not choosing others on features that may never get used or used to their ability is what I'm discussing here. Tech therapy videos are basically me to you. They're long. I don't care how long they are. I'm not going to apologize anymore for them being long. I'm not trying to be anybody else on this platform. I don't watch anybody else on this platform. I watch the channels I like, and I watch these gaming ones that I'm telling you about. And when I hear them say, this isn't coming, that's not here. Channels like Digital Foundry that break this stuff down every day. Very few of these games are going to be 4K 60. And if they are, you're covered. If you have a modern panel, you're covered. You're fine. But this 4K 120 thing that we all fell in love with, that I fell in love with, that I'm glad to have, I'm realizing isn't really going to be plentiful, if any. And the Series X to me reminds me of a PC. I can go back and play something like Halo Master Chief Collection 4K 120. I could do that on a PC. It's not challenging. They're very old titles. The Xbox Series X is excellent. Alan Wake, all these remasters, I'm happy that they're here. But I'm not super impressed with all these new games. I'm not seeing them push the envelope. Seeing Crysis Remastered was great. I'm playing that off, my SSD, my external. It's not even the Series X one. It looks great. That game's old as heck. PC people have been enjoying that for 10, 15 years. So we can enjoy these things, but I'm saying chasing these small checks on the Xbox dashboard is a mistake. And PS5 plays fantastic with Sony TVs, play amazing with LG TVs and other manufacturers, including Samsung, TLC, Hisense, all the above. Most modern displays will have gaming capabilities you can still enjoy, and most modern TVs have lower input lags. Not 1 second, 2 seconds, but they're decent. Most of them have reasonable input lag, but this feverish, I have to have this. The challenge what it's doing is it's making you not enjoy the moment. You're not doing the most important thing, which is enjoying content, playing content. I'm saying this to you because I'm guilty of it. I'll wait until I get the TV that suits the needs. I won't play that campaign till this happens. There's only one game right now that I know that negates this conversation. It's Ratchet & Clank. And Ratchet & Clank has a fidelity mode that uses HDMI 2.1 in a way that offers 4K 40 FPS, which is odd, and has all the bells and whistles. You do need HDMI 2.1 for that specific game. Otherwise, in that mode, it'll be 1080p, which is a crime. I hope PS5 games don't go that route. It is a cool feature, but you'll still be covered with 4K 60 if you have a 4K 60 TV with 4K 30. That isn't something that happens often. That's one title that I'm aware of. But for the most part, many of you that have a modern display can enjoy all the gaming there is out there. Arguably, if you have an Xbox One X and a PS4 Pro or whatever, you're still good. You can still enjoy a lot of these games. But chasing 4K 120, chasing VRR, chasing Dolby Vision, chase those when they're plentiful. Chase those when they're here. I want you to watch games and say, oh my God, there's the 10 titles that I need to have and I need to enjoy. Then buy the TV to accommodate that technology, but not before. All right, guys, thank you always for watching. I know it's a long video. Let me know what you think in the comments. I will talk to you soon. See you in the comments. Love you guys.